Hey there, this is the Pilot's News Briefing Podcast. I'm Frank Daniels, and with me today is Ana Risano from the Pilot's Newsroom, bringing us the latest news in Moore County. What do you have for us?
We're talking all things budget retreat.
Budget retreat. That's so exciting.
Yes.
And you were there on Friday?
Yes, Aberdeen held its roughly all day retreat at the police station.
Okay. What, you said there were a lot of departments that were asking, well, why don't you tell us what they were doing?
Yeah, Aberdeen kind of does their budgeting. I guess it's a little bit different than other towns around here that I've covered. They first hold this all-day retreat in which they just kind of hear requests. They don't go through any tax information or anything like that. They just invite all the department heads to come up and be like, what do you need? How did last year work for you? What's really important this year? And then they go through it and they kind of tally up what it is. And then between now and April, staff will work to put together a budget, kind of balancing projects, what's the most needed for the upcoming year, and then what could be maybe held off, or if there's a way to do it a little bit differently, like in-house projects versus contracting them out. So I really appreciate that because it's kind of like a first glance at what the town's departments need.
Yeah. I don't know. You've covered it now for, 2 years? You've done this. This will be the third year, right? Mm-hmm. Did you before ask like how they came to this process?
I have not.
No, it seems like a very reasonable, well thought out way to go about a large budget. I mean, it's almost like what any small, really good team will do. Let's we can keep going. We can keep going. The air will just be there.
Yeah, background noise.
But you never have really figured out whether that's like a newer thing or whether it just evolved over time or what.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know. I mean, I also cover Southern Pines, and they do an all day budget retreat, and they go through a real draft budget where everything's balanced out, and it might just be capacity, because now between now and a month from now, Aberdeen has to put a budget together versus kind of having everything set up and ready to go.
Oh, I see.
So now they might be on a different time crunch in different months.
Yeah, okay. And you think that maybe whoever prepares the inputs for Southern Pines might do this process behind the scenes, kind of? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, it's still, they still have all that information. They'll present a massive budget binder with all the information. It's just all the department heads aren't coming in and giving their own presentation, which could be a lot.
Yeah. It's an all-day thing, and then they'll probably do another all-day thing. Or does it shorten it?
For the next discussion for Aberdeen, it will be at a work session, so that's just a 6 p.m. meeting.
Okay.
Probably. I think last year probably was like an hour or two. Nothing too crazy. Mm-hmm.
Okay. What are some of the departments and things that they were hoping to accomplish?
One of the biggest items was the water and sewer department. They are looking to replace a water line along Bethesda Road. They want to upgrade it to a 10-inch line. I think it's currently a 6-inch line and maybe an 8-inch line in different areas, but that line is old and brittle and breaks a lot. So they want to update it, and that would cost about $2 million at this point in time. That's a significant
item.
Other projects are smaller and a little bit cheaper. Like the Parks and Rec department wants to do some upgrades to the Aberdeen Lake Park. That includes paving the trail to make it more accessible for folks, extending a sidewalk between where the gazebo is and the dam so that you can walk that and not just walk on kind of what's been made into a path. Also replace the gazebo. And I think they also need to replace an HVAC system in the recreation center.
Okay.
And that would all be, I don't remember the exact number. I think under 300,000.
Where's the recreation center?
At the lake park.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, where they do the voting and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think it's just called the rec center.
Sure. Yeah.
It's where their department is.
Okay. But yeah, that's a large jump from 2 million down to under 300,000.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then, like the police department and the fire department also had asks. I can't think of a specific one right now, but each are just to be up to date with their equipment and just be on top of things as laws evolve and things are becoming more useful, like body cams and or tasers for everyday use.
Okay.
I don't know if that's the way I want to phrase it, but
yeah, well,
hopefully not everyday use.
For everyday situations.
Yes.
Yeah, because not even though they're not everyday, it's a more normal type of policing.
Mm-hmm. It's not deadly force.
Yeah. Okay. What is then, like, when they do that draft budget, do they have a number that is typical, or does that vary?
Good question. Because the town manager, Paul Savison, mentioned that at the end of the day. So all the requests that came in on Friday, about 5.1 million.
Okay.
Town usually allocates between 1.8 and 2.1 million.
Wow,
for
that's
such projects. It's very different.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. He also said that they were very financially stable at the moment, so maybe that fund would increase a little bit, or say like the Bethesda line, maybe they would do half of it next year and the other half the following year. These are all just ideas that I've had that they didn't say that, but it's possible because that's how they face projects sometimes.
And this actually reminds me of our podcast on Friday, because of Pinehurst's budget. They talked about a fund balance that they have. Does Aberdeen have something like that?
Yes.
Do you know how much that is?
I don't know that number right now, and I hesitate to throw out a guess.
Sure. Yeah, because he made a point that, while I'm not that young, I'm still inexperienced in a lot of things, and he made the point that some people contend that a large fund balance could point to fiscal irresponsibility, because a town's not spending tax money on things that could be done. So that's why I ask.
Gotcha. There is a requirement that towns have to retain a percentage of what they make through taxes and things, as like a rainy day fund, as an emergency fund. So I think the minimum is around 20% maybe, but I think the idea is that the town saves enough money so that if something happens, out in the mountains, the hurricane came through and caused devastation,
right, that
they could run for 2 to 3 months before they have to look for another funding source.
Yeah. Okay. So. Yeah, it was something that, to me as an individual, saving money having a large fund balance seems like the more responsible thing to do. But I hadn't considered that maybe, having a gigantic fund balance would be a sign of irresponsibility on a municipality's part, which was I thought a great point to keep in mind when talking about municipal budgets. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and it also depends on how many staff they have, what kind of benefits they have. I mean, that all will eat out of the budget pretty quickly.
I think your point about maybe using a benchmark as a time frame of how long, how much balance would last is a good way to keep an idea about what is responsible and not, because you don't want to be able to you don't want to have to shut the government down in a week if something were to happen.
I mean, it's just like us. They have bills to pay.
Right.
And so they're also just in charge of a lot more people.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, we will keep listening to you as this progresses and wait to hear what the final draft budget is, whether it is around that $2 million, give or take, or if they allocate some more. And if you have questions for Anna about the budget story after you read it or anything else that she writes about, you can send her an email to anna@thepilot.com. That's ANA@thepilot.com. You can send me an email to frank@thepilot.com if you have questions about what we're doing, what I do, and why we're doing it. I always welcome feedback. And we will be back again another time. This has been the latest news in Moore County.
Cool. Thanks, Frank.
Thanks.